Okay, so you've learned a few tricks and you want to spin fire. What equipment are you going to need to get you there? Drex here from DrexFactory.com, and today I wanted to chat with you about all the equipment you need to be able to fuel your prop and spin it safely. From fuel depots to safety spotters, we're going to run down the list and let you know what all you need to acquire before you start spinning fire. Before we dive in, of course, I just wanted to give a shout out to the friends of the channel. Big thanks to Dark Monk, Flow Toys, Pyroterra Light Toys, LMF Props, Spinballs, and Ultrapoi for helping to make the videos on this channel possible. You can learn more about all of these amazing companies and the work they're doing to support flow artists like yourself by following the links that I've got down in the description of this video. So let's call a spade here. Dancing with fire is fun, it's cool, it's sexy, and it's exhilarating. It's also dangerous. Granted, there are much more dangerous things you could be doing with your time, but I think it's really important to remember that fire can potentially hurt you, and you have to exercise some caution around that. So to that end, I want to take you through all the basic equipment you're going to need in order to spin fire safely, whether that be in your backyard, at a gig, or out at a festival. Now, quite a few of you out there may have spun fire many times without a lot of this equipment and had it turn out just fine. And I'm really glad to hear that. But that doesn't mean that bad things can't ever happen in the future, and if ever there's an accident, you'll be really glad to have these pieces in place. After all, you may never have been in a car accident, but that doesn't mean that you never will, and that doesn't mean that you shouldn't wear your seatbelt. You should look at spinning fire in exactly the same way. So, let's dive in. We're going to start with your fuel depot. A fuel depot consists of a dip can, secondary fuel container, spin-out equipment, and of course, the fuel. Here, I'm going to assume that the fuel that you're using is camp fuel, otherwise known as naphtha, Coleman fuel, crown fuel, or white gas. It's the most commonly used fuel here in the United States, and it's also the most volatile. Why am I making that assumption? Because if we go by safety standards for handling white gas, it's overkill for any of the less volatile chemicals. Basically, if you go by this breakdown, you should be in good shape for any fuel. First up, make sure to keep the fuel in the container that it came in when not in use. That container has been engineered to store the fuel safely for long periods of time. Your dip can has not. If possible, make sure you're storing all of your fuel cans in a metal container and mark the container with stickers telling people that it's dangerous and not to smoke around it. For your dip can, I highly recommend an empty paint can, whether in gallon or quart volumes. You can find them at most hardware stores, and they're super helpful if the fuel in the can catches on fire. You can literally just drop the lid on top of the can, and the buildup of dense carbon dioxide inside will both seal the lid as well as extinguish the fire. Easy peasy. Another popular device to use as a dip can is actually old ammo cans from Army surplus stores. They have the benefit of holding a volume of fuel in such a way as to make them ideal for dipping props with small wicks. Unfortunately, they're also very difficult to cap in a hurry if the fuel should light on fire, and even worse, they're prone to tipping over if not handled properly. Stick with the paint can. That lid is a lifesaver for putting out fires. Whichever container you use for your dip can, make sure to cover it when not dipping a prop. This will make it much less likely that fuel can accidentally be lit on fire. You also want to have a secondary container that the dip can sits inside of to collect any fuel that may drip off of the prop as you're spinning. Why do this? Because it's better for the environment. Most fuels that we use for fire dancing are toxic, and avoiding getting any of that on the ground where it could seep into the soil or groundwater is practicing good environmental stewardship. I recommend either a shallow plastic container or a galvanized steel bucket. Either way, make sure that you have easy access to the top of the dip can and that the container is big enough to catch any stray drops of fuel after you dip your prop. Some people like to use a 5-gallon plastic bucket for this secondary container, but I'm not a big fan of this because it makes it super awkward to access the dip can. This is especially problematic if the fuel in the dip can gets lit on fire and you need to try and get the lid into a confined space. Make this step as easy on yourself as possible. Next, let's talk about spin out. Now, there are a whole host of really incredible looking spin-out structures out there that people have built, and if you're up for making a project out of any one of them, I'll include some links to some designs down in the description. But there's a much easier way to accomplish similar things, and that's with either Ziploc bags or neoprene gloves. For Ziploc bags, you'll specifically want freezer bags with a slider on the seal. You'll cap your wick with one of these bags and use the slider to seal off as much of the bag as possible. Spin your prop with the bag over it to wring out any excess fuel, and then remove the bag. Any fuel that the bag captured can then be poured back into your dip can. Alternatively, you can squeeze out excess fuel with your hands, providing you're using protective gloves. This does tend to tire out your hands if done repeatedly, so use this option with caution. Alright, so you're fueled and spun out, you're ready to go, right? Not so fast. The first and most important thing you'll need is a safety spotter. This is a person whose sole job it is to watch you as you spin fire and help handle any emergencies if they should arise. A safety spotter has to be vigilant and able to jump in at a moment's notice. Their job isn't just to watch the performer and keep them safe, but also to make sure that the performer isn't in any danger from the audience or obstructions in their environment. And that safety spotter needs equipment to take care of any fires that the performer may start either on their person or around them. The two most essential items that they should have are a fire blanket and a fire extinguisher. Which brings us to the sponsor of this video and all of this month's videos, Mayday Atlanta. Mayday Atlanta makes the best fire blankets that I've ever used. They're aramid fabrics, so they're both naturally fire resistant as well as machine washable, plus which they have a layer of reflective material around the perimeter of the blanket, so they're super easy for a performer to see from wherever they happen to be performing. Mayday Atlanta makes the most durable, safe, and flexible fire safety blanket that I've ever encountered out there. Pick one up for yourself today by using the code DREXFACTOR at MaydayATL.com. So beyond a fire safety blanket, it's also good for a safety spotter to have access to a fire extinguisher. You'll want an ABC rated extinguisher so it can handle any fires that may come as a result of contact between the performer and their stage, as well as fuel fires in the depot. I've already done a video on some basic procedures for safety spotters to keep in mind as a performer is doing their thing, but I'll still give you a quick overview. Your job as a spotter is to watch out for any fuel transfers, that is, moments when a prop might light a performer on fire and need to be put out. If you see a transfer happen, call out the body part that has been lit on fire and give the performer 3 seconds to put it out themselves. If they can't take care of it within those 3 seconds, approach the performer with the safety blanket and let them know that you're going to put them out. You'll want to spread the safety blanket across the lit body part near the top of the flame and swipe down past the bottom of it. The reason for this is that the chemical reaction causing the fire is actually at the bottom of it. To put it out, you have to reach the point below the flames to cut off the chemical reaction that's driving them. If you encounter a fire that you can't put out with the safety blanket, alternatively, you can use the fire extinguisher to help put it out. Aim at the bottom of the flames and try and spray the entire area affected by them. Another situation you're likely to deal with as a safety spotter is the need to put out a performer's prop early. If this happens, the performer will signal to you that they want to be put out. There are many special cases where you'll need to put out specific props, and I'll link to a playlist of videos dealing with how to put out several right here. But for now, the Cliff's Notes are as follows. You want to wrap the prop's wick up in your safety blanket to cut off the flow of oxygen to it. Try to wrap the wick and hold it tight for 5 seconds. No matter what you do, do not pat the blanket. This will actually fan the flames and keep the prop lit. Now, you may have to follow this procedure more than once if a prop still has a lot of fuel on it or is an awkward shape. If so, simply repeat these same steps until the prop is out. I also want to take this opportunity to suggest that, especially if you're spinning fire for the first time, that you make sure to use a safety spotter who is already familiar with fire dancing and knows what to look for. You'll be the most safe under their supervision. I will also highly recommend that literally anybody who wants to spin fire should take the Fire Safety Certification course from Flow Arts Institute. They've aggregated reams of useful data on the best techniques for keeping you safe. You'd be surprised how much info is in here. I've been spinning for years and I still learned a lot when I took the course myself. I'll link to it down in the description. So that's it. Everything that you'll want to have to spin fire safely. I'll include links down below for you to be able to purchase all of these individual pieces yourself. As you can probably tell, this video was a team effort that required the help of quite a lot of friends. So I'd like to just take a moment to thank Carly Bellingham, Iman Bowman, Kang Deng, Alex Nicolo, Kyle Rasmussen, James Small, and Sam Stevens for all of their help in getting this video made. Y'all rock. Go forth, burn bright, and above all, be safe. It can feel exhilarating to spin fire, and we all love that rush, but it only takes one nasty accident to get a serious injury, or worse, to make it more difficult for the entire community to continue to spin fire. Don't be the person that ruins it for the rest of us, yeah? Also, please make sure to subscribe and ring that bell, because otherwise you might not know when I upload a new video. YouTube changes its algorithm constantly, and clicking that notification bell is the only way to guarantee that you'll see my new videos when they're uploaded. And of course, a big thank you to all of my wonderful supporters on Patreon. They make this video and all the videos on my channel possible. If you'd like to support the work that I do, please head on over to patreon.com/DrexFactorPoi and sign up. You get a vote in which video topics I tackle, as well as great exclusive content, plus tons of other rewards. Thanks so much in advance.